There's a topic in my notepad file that like I've had on there since the beginning, and every time I'm like, I don't want to talk about that. I'm like, why do I still even have it?
Is today the day, or is this another? No, I don't want to talk about that.
No, it's pretty much just I don't even know why I wrote it down, because it's not really like, it's pretty much just a story about this couple I knew, who from the beginning I met them when they were already a couple for like a year or two. Like I was just like, how are they together? Like this is not a functioning relationship. And then like a couple years later, they got engaged, and I was like, why is that happening? This is not healthy. Like they're not happy together. And then they got married, and within a year of their marriage, they got divorced.
Yeesh.
And the day after, like she changed her name back on Facebook, like she was already with another guy. Like she had him in the wings. You know what I mean?
That's a lot of that going around.
But like there was another couple that like they were best friends with. Like the two girls were best friends and the two guys were best friends.
Yeah.
And so it was just like this weird dynamic, and like I haven't really seen them since, but it was just a weird thing, and I just kind of was going to chat about it. We could save that or just bullshit about that another time.
It's a weird thing that people just assume the rebound isn't going to work. Sometimes the rebound works.
That was like 2 or 3 years ago, and she's still with that guy.
I'm saying, like, yeah.
He played the long game. All right, we can save that one though. Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of The Fake Philosophers. I am one of your hosts, Mike, and with me, as always, or not as always, but a lot.
Most of the time. I should say, hi, I'm Mitch, and with me, as always, is Mike. Because it's true. You know, if I've said this story already, I'm sorry, but it was a few months back. I'm chatting with my brother, and I mentioned something about recording, and I'm like, yeah, I can't, and I'm recording, or he's like, what are you recording? I'm like, that podcast I'm in. And he's like, oh yeah, Mike's podcast. Yeah. And I'm like, I mean, yeah, there's like, a few of us in it. He's like, yeah, but it's Mike's podcast. So
I was talking to somebody about that, and I'm only on it all the time because I think I'm the one who's available most of the time.
You are, yeah, and you are the driving force behind scheduling. I wish I could be better, but you're second to none, man.
Well, I was kind of excited. I almost felt like we almost had one with you and Eddie this week, but then I think that kind of wasn't working.
Yeah.
Because I almost wasn't able to this week.
Well,
since we're taking a lot of days off, I was like, we have to do something.
Yeah, I can't next week unless we do it like really early, because my in-laws are in town. It's weird. When I say my in-laws are in town, it sounds like my parents. No, my wife's sister, the one who married the British guy, and they're all British kids and all that, are visiting America. So they're in town now. So this weekend I'm with them. So that's why I would be busy. And then next weekend I got Thursday and Friday off, and I get to have an extended weekend with them next weekend. So I'm pretty excited.
Okay, cool. Maybe we'll get a different combination next week then.
Ooh, I could have all of them on.
I was thinking like some Danny and Eddie action, but
oh yeah,
bring in the guest too.
Yeah.
All right.
Anyway,
getting right into it.
What's new with you, Mike? What's it like in the world of Mike?
Frustrating. So, I've talked about problems with employing people before. It's not a new topic.
Yeah.
And I continue to like not get people. So for instance,
at this point we should call it a bit. Like we could make it a segment. Mike's
this
hiring fiasco.
This week in what the fuck in hiring.
Mike's hiring happenings, we'll call it.
There you go. No, so we needed a dishwasher, which you think a dishwasher wouldn't be that hard to get.
Right, we talked a bit about that last week.
Yeah, it is. And so we finally got a guy. I interviewed him. He was a bit eccentric. I'm not sure if that's the right term. Like he wasn't the best candidate, but if I'm being completely honest, he was the only one that showed up, and I was like, fine. He's good enough. So we hired him. I chatted with him on the phone, like, hey, yeah, can you start this week, blah, blah, blah. And he was holding off because he had another interview, but I guess like he was waiting for this hiring manager to show up at this other place, and he's like, you know what, I'll just take the job. I don't want to wait here anymore. I was like, great, cool. So he showed up. Day one, filled out all this paperwork, got it going. I started showing him around. And as I'm taking him to the kitchen, I was like, all right, this is the three sink setup. Wait, did we already talk about this? We did.
Yeah. Yeah.
As I started saying it, I was like, wait, we already talked about this.
Yeah.
So that aside, that was last week. Sorry. I blanked. But then this week.
We'll cut that out. We'll cut that out. We'll cut that out.
We'll leave it in. People could see that I'm fucking losing my brain. So this week.
We've seen it here first, folks.
Yes.
A living example. We all watched it.
But this week, so we need, because we had some servers, like, servers, as you know, like they come and go. There's some that are career, but a lot of times it's just seasonal, or they're going to college and they move on, whatever. So we lost a few in the past couple weeks to reasons, all left on good terms. But we need more. So I messaged and called. I think I had a couple interviews Monday set up, and I think I had 4 set up Monday and only like 2 showed up. And then Monday I called a bunch of people from like Indeed, and I set up a total of 8 interviews on Tuesday. And on Tuesday, out of 8, 2 showed up and 1 canceled. And the other 5, there's no word.
Wow.
And
that's crazy, man.
I just don't. To me, at least the one person messaged me and canceled and said, I can't make it. Cool. But then the rest of them just didn't even show up. And one of them, I talked to on the phone, I was actually really excited. I was like, oh, she sounds really nice. She sounds cool. Like, just no-showed. Nothing. I don't know. It's just something like I just wanted to say out loud. Like, what? I don't understand that.
Yeah. It's interesting. I mean, there's so many reasons why someone shouldn't hire anybody. It's kind of crazy. So I'm this week is my 2nd week, I think, starting at my new company. And this week I'm actually in the field. I'm actually doing stuff, and they can actually see what I'm doing. All of last week, and I thought it was just going to be like, more time than we needed, but they gave me 5 days to do nothing but orientation as far as like meeting the departments that I'll be involved with. And 4 of the 5 days were just safety training, online safety training, NFPA requirements, OSHA requirements, IT, all this crazy shit. And at the time I thought there's no way. Well, they gave me 5 days and I couldn't finish. I'm still not done. I still have like more to do. It's freaking crazy. So I'm looking at the headache of me being hired, and I can't imagine the depth as to what like the employer has to deal with as far as liability, workers' comp, and all that just to get a guy hired on, let alone someone with high skill, high risk, And then first day on the job, they just gave me a truck, and they're like, "Yeah, here's your work truck, here's your laptop and your phone, go." And I'm like, "What the fuck? Are you sure?" They're like, "Why wouldn't you be sure?" I'm like, "No, it's fine, it's fine." Yeah, no, cool. And that was that. I'm like. I have to take a DOT physical, which I've never done before. But I have to go to a practitioner, and they're going to give me a physical to make sure I'm competent and able to drive a weighted vehicle, a commercial vehicle.
Okay.
Yeah, so I have to do. I'm like doing all that. Now I'm looking back on, back in the day when I was in California in the business, in the business world of California. I'm like, I was hesitant then about hiring someone. Now fucking forget about it.
Yeah.
But yeah, besides that, everything's great.
Yeah. So good.
Yeah.
Go on.
Yeah. No, I think that was good.
that was it for me. I just want, it's one of those things that like it's boiling up in my head. I'm like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
And even today. So we hired a different we ended up getting a dishwasher who turned out really well. But even today, like I wanted to interview this chick to be a food runner just in case we needed somebody. She messaged me back immediately, like I'm interested. I really want to be there. I was like, tomorrow at noon. She's like, cool, I'll be there. No show. I'm just like, what? I just don't. I don't know. I think I just need to say it out loud to get it out of my system, even though I've said it before in previous episodes. But like this constantly happens.
No, there's some things that even though it constantly happens, you just don't understand it, and you like there's no like because at least most things you can kind of understand where the other people come from, like those fuckers that clap when the plane lands. You know, it's like, don't do that shit. But I guess I get it. Like, cool. I'm happy. I'm home. I'm going to clap. Thank you everybody who did their job, you know, and whatever. But yeah, it's like, but at least that you can understand. But like the no-show and the, like how frequent the no-show thing is.
Yeah. And it really, and this is on a kind of selfish note, like, so the interviews, I had a few like at like 11:30 noon, and then I had like one at 3, and then I had 2 around 5. And so I didn't do things that I needed to get done because of these interviews.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so now, like, because of your, I don't know if I want to call them selfish now or whatever, their laziness or whatever you want to say it, their flakiness, I'm losing time in my day.
Yeah. Now they're affecting you. Yeah.
Yeah. And so I don't know, it's just draining. It's just fucking draining. Anyway, I just wanted to get that out there, get it off my chest.
Yeah, I hear you.
How about you? How about you, Mitch? What do you got?
You should move to North Carolina. It's pretty sweet out here, but no, it is pretty sweet. It's cold at night. No, this place sucks, man. There's like no traffic. I don't know what to do. I did hit stop and go traffic all the way home yesterday, and I was delayed like 15 minutes. Blew my mind. So you want to know what North Carolina, or at least where my area is like. So where we live, we found a church nearby that we actually like, and it's kind of all right, cool. We went a couple times. The first one we tried, pretty sweet, and we like it. So whatever. I have this weird thing where, I don't know if it's weird. If you're picking a church or whatever your community thing might be, a club, a bar, a brewery, you know, something that you want to make a regular use of, I feel like it's your responsibility to find one that's near to you, kind of part of your community. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I know a lot of people that like travel a long way for church. And it's like, because we like that church. I'm like, yeah, okay. I mean, you know, I get that. But isn't it the whole point to kind of go to your community and, you know, volunteer in your community, kind of make your little neighborhood better? So I'm going to try to like describe it as best I can. But if you left my apartment and there's like an apartment complex, and if you drive to the main road that exits the complex, mind you, this road dissects the complex. So it goes right down the center. So this is how like in this road is. So you go onto this road and you turn right. And as you head down that road, my church is on the left. So it's right there. It's like a mile away, like less than a mile away. It's right there. Well, you pass a fucking church to get to it. That's how many churches there are up here. It's freaking awesome. It's just churches and barbecue as far as the eye can see. It's insane.
So what you need to do is find a church that barbecues.
I'm sure they all do. I'm sure all the and it's pretty awesome. The pastor at this church, he has an Australian accent, or it's either Australian or South African, and you'd think it'd be really easy to know, but because there's so much southern twinge to it, it's hard to. Mm-hmm. But
interesting. Okay.
Yeah. What else?
So you picked a church. Did you pick a church, or are you still kind of browsing?
I mean, yeah, we've gone there twice now and watched the third one online because the wife's out of town and really enjoying it. But
good.
What else is going on? Oh, there was a shooting in Raleigh. There was
there was
some psycho monster piece of shit shot his brother, and then he went on a shooting spree on a hiking trail that is seriously like a couple miles away from where I live. That was pretty crazy. We didn't hear it or anything. We just didn't even notice, and then the next day we found out about it on the news. It was pretty crazy. Which I was hearing about an update today. This is one of the points I brought in. It was kind of an interesting thing. So this kid was shot in the head, and he's still alive. He's in ICU now, and he's starting to get better. And his parents are like being interviewed, and of course they're just like, you know, I can't even imagine. I was going to say
I can't put myself in that position. Yeah.
But this kid is getting better apparently. Like he's you know, recovering from his headshot wound. And there's a lot of mixed feelings about that. A lot of people are like, damn it, should have killed him. I'm like, cool. He gets to live. I want him to live a long, suffering life. But
I might have missed it. Maybe you said it. Was he shot by a cop or did he shoot himself?
That is unknown yet. They don't know yet whether it was self-inflicted or not. There was a shootout because one of the fatalities was a cop.
Got it.
But So in my weird mind, I'm thinking about it today. I'm like, okay, so this kid, if I had my way, he would be horribly mentally impaired because of this wound, and he'd live in agony the rest of his life. And you can't perform capital punishment on him because he's impaired or he's or something like that. And then I thought, oh man, wait a minute. Now I know you can't try someone if they committed a crime because they were crazy, right? Or plead insanity or something like that.
I think they could still kind of like get in trouble, but but not as harshly. Like it's a lower sentence.
But what if he committed the crime like this kid did in his right mind? Well, in quotations, and then in the conflict with police after the crime was committed, it left him mentally impaired. Would he be able to stand trial, and would they be able to inflict the same punishment as they would?
As someone who's obviously not a lawyer, I think maybe a little bit of both. Like perhaps they wouldn't sentence him to like federal prison, but they would sentence him to like, I don't know, a place where like it's for mentally disabled people.
Oh, maybe. I went to
he's away for life, but instead of federal prison where he's going to get fucking massacred, I don't know.
It'd be like a One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest kind of place.
Yeah.
You know, like exactly. criminally insane. But the thing is, he wasn't criminally insane. He is now impaired, but back when he was,
Right, and I think that's where you find the middle ground, like McMurphy in that story where he was a criminal who is now insane. So they sent him there.
Interesting. Ow. Okay. I thought he was faking insanity. That's why he went there.
He was, because he was, if I recall, he was in prison, and then he started faking insanity to get sent to the mental institution.
Okay. Oh, okay. Yeah.
I played the part once.
I know. That's why I asked. That's why I brought it up. And
Anyway.
Yeah, you had some good stories about a broken bottle or something like that. Someone broke a bottle and then cleaned it up. Like there's no problem. Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, that was a very, very fun play. Very fun play.
Okay,
what else you got?
Yeah. Well, I was looking up. I thought we might do another argument fallacy or whatever.
Sure.
So I'm looking up. I was doing more research today about argument fallacies and looking up. I didn't pick one specifically. Well, I spent most time on one. We'll probably get to that. But what I found out is that the one we've done, what do we call it? The straw man fallacy, falls under the umbrella of the red herring fallacy. The gist of it being you avoid the argument by making up something completely irrelevant, off topic, or something like that. You read any of the red herring arguments, it's a straw man argument, all that kind of stuff. But I read something you'd like this on the Wikipedia page. I'm looking at red herring article, and it's gave its brief description. It says in politics, it's sometimes referred to as the dead cat fallacy. When something crazy is happening, and if you're at a dinner and everyone's arguing about something like that, if someone slapped a dead cat onto the dining room table, that's what everyone's going to be talking about, rather than the issue at hand.
Interesting.
We see that in politics all the time. It was actually Boris Johnson when he was mayor that I think coined the term the dead cat. So, but in courtroom, in legal terms, it's sometimes referred to as the Chewbacca defense.
I've heard that.
After the famous South Park. And I'm like, okay, did South Park reference it? Nope, they're referencing
South Park. Made it up.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. It was their Johnny Cochran arguing why Chewbacca doesn't belong on Endor.
Yeah. He's from Kishik, not Endor. That does not make sense. In the description, and then there's a whole Wikipedia article of the Chewbacca defense and how it's like, in the Simpson trial, anytime someone would mention something about Simpson being guilty, Cochran would just say, "If it doesn't fit, you must have quit." But the gloves do not fit. It's a red herring. It's not about the argument. And
the red herring in general, because I used to get the red herring and straw man confused a lot. I'd mistaken them for each other. My general understanding of the red herring is whereas the straw man is that you're misrepresenting the argument being made, a red herring is more of just a blatant distraction. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Like if you're saying if you're making the argument that I don't know a Chevy's better than a Ford, and whatever, I'm not a car person, and you start making an argument instead of me taking your argument, misrepresenting it, and then making my argument, maybe I start talking about Hyundais or Mazdas, where I'm not even addressing it. I'm just fucking distracting now. Yeah, I think something similar, and it's a fallacy that I have now caught on to when I'm talking to people, but it's really easy to miss and get fucking. It's similar to red herring. Not sure if there's a proper term for it, but a lot of people call it the whataboutism. Yeah,
I've heard that. Let me see if I can find the term for that, but that's a good one. The what about it's something.
It's the way I've heard it is pretty much. Well, this is just a good story, a true story that happened to my father. He got pulled over speeding in a school zone, and he pretty much said the cop came up, started writing the ticket, and he's like, I pulled you over, blah, blah, blah. You were speeding in the school zone. It's 25. You're going like 30 or something. And my dad said, yeah, but like everyone was going 30, 35. It wasn't just me. Like, what about them? And all the guy said was like, well, I pulled you over.
Yeah.
And my dad was just like, fair. The idea being that like, yeah, like you're not addressed, but you still were speeding. And it's a tactic used a lot and I'm not even sure if it's conscious. You got something?
There's a few like terms for that because that falls under. I'm looking at the list of argument fallacies, and red herring fallacy has a long list of them, most of which begin with the appeal to blank poverty. And the one I think you're talking about is the appeal to the widespread belief or the bandwagon argument. Appeal to the majority, appeal to the people. Proposition is claimed to be true because a majority of many people believe it to be so.
Well, I think the whataboutism is more of if it's conscious or not, you're not making an argument about the current thing. Like, for instance, my dad, he said, well, what about everybody else? But that doesn't address him speeding. It doesn't address the current situation. He's bringing up something else. It's kind of similar, and this happens all the time. For instance, I don't want to get into politics. Let's say, OJ. Let's say I killed my future wife, and I get, they indict me, and I get convicted. If I said, well, what about OJ? OJ got away with it. OJ killed his wife, and he got away with it. What about him?
Yeah.
But the whole thing is like, yeah, but you still did it. What about you can talk all about what about this shit, but you still did it. It doesn't change anything in this particular specific argument.
Yeah, the problem is like, yeah, they did too. Or I mean, the problem with OJ, you could be like, no, we have legal proof he didn't. So
my point being is instead of addressing the argument, you're now saying, well, what about this other thing?
Right.
And that's where I think it does fall under the umbrella of maybe a red herring.
No, it definitely would be. Yeah, like I said, there's a lot of things that follow under the red herring. It has its own.
Because red herring is pretty much just distraction from the argument.
Exactly. Yeah, and there it is again, the Chewbacca defense. That's so funny.
I do like that.
There was some we could. Then it gets into really just the nitty gritty of the complexity and what makes up an argument, circumstance and factor, blah 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 blah. But the one I held on to is kind of read most of is one of the red herring fallacies is called the argument from authority or the appeal to authority. Red herring. This came up daily during the COVID shutdown. Anytime someone had a logical point of what they believed and why they believed it, they would constantly refer to the expert or the person of authority, the person that's better suited, and what they said. So, hey, if the authority said it, then it must be true.
Mm-hmm. I'm pulling that up real quick just so I can make sure I'm understanding it correctly.
Form of argument in which the opinion of an authority on a topic is used as evidence to support an argument. So let's say you're anti-vax and say, well, why are you anti-vax? Well, this so-and-so expert said it's best to not take the vaccine. So there you go. No real argument to the point when there could be, but you just leave it to the experts.
Yeah, that one, I kind of read it out. my understanding of it was correct. I mean, this one gets hairy in my opinion, because like, so for instance, because I understand the point of, but like if I, for instance, if I had a question about a generator, so then I would go, okay, I'm just gonna ask Mitch. Mitch knows, and then you give me an answer, and then I talk to somebody who is a bartender, and then they give me an answer, and it's different. I am going to go with you. And say, well, a person who works on generators told me this, and it's conflicting with your answer, so I'm going to go with them. But I do understand that doesn't mean you're right.
Yeah, I think
so. That's where it gets harried, in my opinion.
Right. I think the difference is, I think we have to establish the difference between the fallacy of saying your argument is because the expert says so versus citing an expert. You know what I mean?
Okay, yeah, I got you.
The case for evolution versus creationism. No one has really done the research, or at least no one we talked to really has done the research, dug up the fossils or anything like that. But there are experts who have, and we can rely on, validated experts and what they find to kind of derive our own opinion.
Sure.
And I guess that's where the difference comes from. I think if we had an argument, we can make our arguments and cite experts. Rather than just say, yeah, but so-and-so said this, he's an expert, so I'm just going to do that. And that's my argument. And
you could even, like, it would be a difference by just saying, in this very simple example, if I said, well, Mitch works on generators, so I believe him, and you're wrong. But it'd be different if I said, well, here's what Mitch said, and here's what his experience is, and this is what he told, blah, 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 blah. And I actually broke down what you said and why you believed it, and used that as an argument. It's different than just saying, well, Mitch said you're wrong.
Right. Yeah.
Okay.
If you're having a conversation with a friend who's a bartender and you say, I think I want to get a Kohler instead of a Generac, and the guy says, well, no, you don't want to. Where was I going with it? You don't want a Kohler. You want a Generac, and this is why Generac is this, Generac is that, and this and this and this and that. And you say, yeah, but Mitch says I should get a Kohler. So that's
that's a good example right there, where the guy is actually making an expansive argument.
Right, right.
An analytic argument, but yeah.
Versus Mike, who says, Mitch says I should get a Kohler because even though they're more expensive, they're more reliable, they have a better backup thing, and that's more in keeping with what I want, this and this and this. And, so I think that'd be the difference. It's interesting. I remember, like, pretty much any argument could fall under some fallacy. It'd be kind of hard to do a perfect argument.
Interesting. There's actually in the appeal to authority wiki page, there's a subtopic called appeal to false authority, where you pretty much use arguments from people who are not actually experts. When the appeal is made to parties having no legitimate claim to authority in the matter at hand.
This what I just said kind of reminded me of another fallacy that I found up. So that I looked up. There was if you Google list of argument fallacies, it'll take you to a wiki page, and there's a long list of all the breakdowns of all the fallacies. Well, one of them, very near the top, I think it's second down, is called argument from fallacy, also known as the fallacy. The assumption that if a particular argument for a conclusion is fallacious, then the conclusion by itself is false. So if I use an argument fallacy, it doesn't mean I'm wrong. It's kind of It kind of negates the whole thing. It's like, well, you used a straw man fallacy, so your conclusion's wrong. It's like, well, you're using the fallacy, so
Yeah, and that's where all this shit. I took a class in college. I forgot the name of it, but it was pretty much like a class on how to argue. So we went over a ton of this shit. Most of it I've forgotten because it's been years. But there were times where we would just go in circles. Yeah. Like with that. So me and you are arguing, and I call you out for straw manning. And I'm like, you must be wrong because you're straw manning. And then turns out, though, that the grass is green outside. You just said the grass is green because the sky is blue. Not connected at all. Stupid argument. But technically, you're right. The grass is green. Yeah. And I said the grass is red. So you fucking made a horrible argument, but you're right.
But I'm right. and then I turn around and say, but I mean, calling my argument straw man is deriving from the argument I'm trying to make. So in of itself, you're making a straw man by saying my argument is a straw man. Because now we're talking about the argument, not the
And that's what I mean. Like, if you really break it down, like, you'll just go in circles. And I remember that class was super interesting because it was actually something that you could apply to your life.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And so it was a very interesting class. I dug it.
That's funny that's like, hey, I took this one class in college and it was actually relevant. I actually could use it in real life.
Yeah. Meanwhile, astronomy.
No, that was astronomy's good,
I hate, I still remember that class. I walked out of it. I think I attended there's only like 5 tests that I had to be in person, obviously. Outside of that, I never went. I still remember why. It was awful.
Yeah. There was one class, it was a world history class, which is a bummer because I love history, but it was just so boring I couldn't get into it. And so I walked all the time. And then, because all he did was sit and lecture, and then it was like a 100-question quiz every couple months or something like that. And surprise, surprise, I failed, but, I just didn't go.
Well, so this one, the astronomy class, most of that shit you learn like in high school anyway. Mm-hmm. 2, I still remember it was like the second or third class where I was already not liking this fucking teacher, this professor. Like, he was just not interesting, etc. And he was talking about, I forgot the scientific term, to how pretty much just because the star is a certain brightness doesn't mean it's closer or farther, etc. And there's a science behind it, but the way he explained it, he pretty much went, and it was so matter of fact. This is a big lecture hall, right? So he puts his coffee mug down on a desk, and he's like, so this coffee mug looks like, and if you're listening, I'm like kind of holding my fingers out. It looks, let me use this hand, this big. The coffee mug looks this big right now. But if I walk across the room, and he walks, now it looks this big, and it's a smaller size. But the coffee mug did not get smaller. I just moved farther away. That's why it appears to be smaller. I shut my fucking book, and I walked out.
I learned that shit when I was 5. What do you?
Yeah, and I get there's more complexity to the stars and the brightness, and I get that. But he said that so matter of factly, because that could have been funny if he like made it as a joke, like this is how simple it is. But he said it so matter of factly that I was like, "Fuck this class." I shut my book and walked out. And it didn't help that there was a website that he had that posted pretty much all the outlines of everything.
Yeah.
And he had one of those strict schedules. It's like the test. We already know when the tests are going to be.
Okay.
So I never went back to that fucking class. Just the days of the tests, I went online, read everything I needed to know, and I think I passed with like a B+. And I was like, fine.
Awesome. There you go.
Anyway, I still remember that moment.
Do you remember anything else besides the rules of perception?
There's 9 or 8 planets, depending on your train of thought. Your school of thought.
Is Pluto a planet? Let's let's go there. Let's have the controversial topics. Is Pluto a planet? No, I was joking. We don't have to talk.
Yeah,
about
I was
that.
like, I don't know.
Boring.
I never went to class.
Boring. You thought listen to us talk about hiring processes is boring. We'll get into a debate on Pluto.
About Pluto.
Yeah. Have you? We got to decide if we're going to do another review, another movie review or show review or something like that.
Sure, we can do a Everafter.
An Everafter. Which one was? Oh yeah, how they would have ended
once the credits rolled. What really happens?
Yeah, we could do an Everafter on that Dahmer show. That was pretty.
I haven't seen it, and I think it might be predictable. Who knows?
It's a mind fuck, I tell you what. I finished the Rings of Power, the Lord of the Power rings.
Is it good?
Yeah, I liked it.
I haven't watched it. Everything I've read, it's either people really like it or they think it's trash.
Yeah, it's a pretty polarizing show. Apparently, can't just be chill about it. I tell you what, man. I've mentioned this before. It pisses me off how skillful showrunners, show creators, producers are getting. Because I said, if you sit down in front of anything, it's going to have enough talent and skill to kind of hold your attention that, you'll eventually start getting into it. I tell you what, man, my wife put on the Bachelor in Paradise while I was in the kitchen working. And I tell you what, if it's on, I'm not going to turn it off. It sucked me right in.
Yeah, we've discussed that, how when my lady would watch like Project Runway, and the first episode I sit in on, I'm just trashing the show. I'm like, this is fucking dumb. This whole thing is stupid. By episode 4, 2 hours later, I'm like, really? They won on that outfit? That outfit's fucking awful. Like, this person did this.
Yeah. Well, I had this perception of the Bachelor in Paradise, a lot of the Bachelor, Bachelorette kind of thing. Is my outside looking in point of view is these people are horrible. They're sad and broken, and they're just dark and empty inside. And watching them interact with each other and hurt each other more is just sad to me. It's like sick. How can like people actually enjoy that and actually get into it? And then I'm watching this Bachelor in Paradise with my wife, and it's the same thing. Yeah, they're horrible people, and they're the kind of people that when they talk, everything ends with a question. They just had that kind of mode of talking where everything they talk about, it might end as a question. And so I'm like, God, they're dumb. They're educated, but they're dumb, and they're beautiful and spoiled and rich, and they're living in this paradise on a fucking island, and they're complaining and saying that their life is literally hell. And I'm like, this is fucking terrible. And my wife's over there laughing her ass off. Come to find out, the majority of the viewing audience agrees with me. They just like watching people be miserable and terrible and all that.
There's something to that. I personally think it's not watchable. If my girl started watching that shit, I would just leave the room, or I'd pull my laptop off or something. I can't watch that shit. I've tried watching The Bachelor. I can't. I find it just awful. But I remember reading an article years ago about how it's kind of like, and this is going to be touching on politics, but I'm not going into it, that a lot of people voted for Trump in 2016, right? Not because they liked Trump, they just fucking didn't like Hillary. So Trump got all these views, if you will, because of hate. And I've heard it's kind of the same to where with reality television, it's not that you think it's enjoyable and that you watch it because you really like it. You watch it because you fucking hate it and you want to see the fucking. It's a car wreck that you slow down to look at.
Yeah,
and a lot of people 100%. Tune in for that. It's so bad that you want to watch it and you want to trash it.
That's 100% true. Maybe I'm that late to the game. And maybe I'm like, anyone listening to this is like, no fucking shit, dude. It's like, that's from day one we knew that. And now it's just finally dawning on me like, oh, okay.
Well, there's still tons of people out there who genuinely like that shit.
Yeah, maybe. And maybe that's what bothers me is that there's anyone out there who's actually legitimately into it. But no, now I watch those shows and I root for the producers because I know they're just like the puppet masters that just orchestrate it. And when I realized that these producers are actually geniuses and they got this running. Oh, it made it that much more fun for me. But
even as like on the talent side, let's call them the talent, I guess.
Define talent.
I don't see the appeal. Like, so you were never like in a fraternity, right?
No.
Okay. Before I start trashing them, I wanted to make sure. Like fraternities, for instance, in my head, I'm like, you're pretty much applying for friendship.
Yeah. Well, a club. It's a club, kind of.
Yeah, but take a club. Like if you go and join the chess club, it's because you enjoy chess. So then, just because you like chess, you're gonna play with these people, and naturally speaking, you will evolve into being friends. With this fraternity, you're just applying for friendship.
See, I would explain the difference between a group of pickup basketball that you do on Saturdays at the park versus actually trying out for a basketball team that actually competes and stuff like that. That's what I would compare to. If your hobby is socializing, drinking, hanging out, and all that, there's these clubs that make you literally audition, like try out for it.
I guess that's an argument to be made. Anyway, the point being is like it never appealed to me. Because I remember when I went to UNLV, because when I was in community college, obviously that's not a thing. But at UNLV,
that's Las Vegas. For those of you who don't know, Michael went to Vegas when he was in college. So.
But I remember day one in the dorm, the fraternities were walking through the dorms, talking to everybody, blah, 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 blah. And because I was 21 already, like they did really like have an interest in me, whatever the fucking this fraternity was. I forgot who it is. Right. And so like they invited me to like a party. I went to like one or two. They kept hitting me up, like you should come rush, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, to me, it wasn't appealing because I don't feel like, granted, I was in the theater department anyway. I knew I was going to make friends. So like, it's not like I was going to be alone. but it just didn't appeal to me. And that's the way I look at some of these like fucking reality shows. It's like you are like not applying in a sense, but like you're kind of applying and competing.
Yeah.
For the love of your life. And I'm preaching to the choir, and I've heard this argument. Everyone's made the joke about how, like, the girl that you're making out with right now just was making out with some other dude. The same dude you had dinner with the day before because you're all staying in the same house. Like, it's just bizarre to me that would be okay with people.
What blows my mind is when the Bachelor or Bachelorette and whoever they picked, when they break up, it makes the news. I'm like, that's not news. We all knew this was going to fucking happen, but come on.
Yeah. When you're living in a fucking sweet-ass house and you're seeing this person for an hour a day, it's awesome.
Yeah.
But when you actually have to live together, a whole nother thing, man. Like
it's watching this Bachelor in Paradise thing. Watching these people suffer and cry, tears, crying, convulsing, like these people are suffering because this person they thought they were talking to hugged another person, and they're that distraught and they're that broken up. There's something that triggers in my mind. It's kind of like when the chimpanzee fucks with that, like when they fuck with each other and they just like, poking the bear and poking the bruise and all that. When I see someone suffering in that instance where it's so just not justified, is that the right word? Just like not,
sure.
They have no reason to suffer, but seeing them suffer, it gives me joy. I like watching people suffer like that when they, if what they're suffering about is so just stupid.
Yeah.
I'm glad they're suffering. They deserve to suffer.
That's fair.
I remember when Bachelor first came out. I remember, this is junior high, Mitchell, so he's a weird guy. But I remember thinking, The Bachelorette, that I can get on board with. A bunch of guys kind of competing to get a girl, I can get on board with that. Because that seems like
life.
That seems like old school chivalry, kind of which one of them is bit good enough to...
I see what you mean. They're courting her.
Right.
Like they're literally competing. Okay.
And then The Bachelor, I thought was weird. Bunch of girls like fighting over a guy. I was like, that's weird.
No, that should be the show.
What?
That you just hit it on the head. The old school courting, where it's like a girl, like 15 guys, and her dad and mom pick.
That'd be freaking cool.
They have to impress the parents, like old school courting.
I had an idea like The Bachelorette, but it would be someone like you'd have Sam Elliott or Nick Offerman or someone like that hosting. The 15 guys that have to earn their way with a girl, and all the competition is like the classic, like, who can change a tire better, who can change the oil on a car better, who's better at pest control, who can do handiwork around the house, basic chivalry. When you take a girl out, on what side of the street do you stand? That kind of thing. So they all just the old school chivalry kind of stuff. It'd last for like a couple seasons. Because they do the first season, like, cool, this dude won, and there you go.
And then everybody would start studying, yeah.
Second season, we're going to do the opposite. And then they'd reveal, no, it's actually back the other way because the opposite's stupid. All right.
But then then when guys start going on that show, though, they're going to start, like, studying all this shit ahead of time.
Yeah.
And it wouldn't be fun anymore.
Well, that'd be the thing, is like they'd have to raise the stakes. Okay, well, you can do all the stuff we did last season. Now, can you do more? All right.
Can you build
this time? I thought one of the cool challenges would be like literally boxing. They'd teach them the Queensbury rules, a classic boxing kind of thing, and nothing too bad, but like can your man fight and defend you if need be?
And then they fight each other. That'd be great.
That'd be rad. Yeah, the guys literally fight each other, and it's like, hey, I know you're gonna pick me because I'm taller and I kicked that guy's ass.
So I have a random movie generator that I'm just generating, trying to find a good for Everafter.
Oh shit!
I can't find a good one.
What's one I just watched recently? When I rewatched.
What about The Departed? You familiar with The Departed?
I've heard of it. You don't need one because it ended. Everyone just died.
So Aladdin came up in my random movie generator. And
okay.
The original cartoon had sequels.
Yeah.
But we could ignore the sequels and just go off what we think would happen. Off the
Yeah, I don't
original.
even remember what happened with the sequels, but
They were horrible. So okay, Aladdin. We could say the live action and the cartoon.
didn't see the live action, so
It's the same shit. Yeah.
it looked really good.
I'll say it wasn't horrible. I watched it out of curiosity. It wasn't horrible.
Yeah,
But-
Bachelor in Paradise isn't horrible. They have
fuck.
They have good people making a good product that's passable. It's they're
Okay,
craftsmen.
Aladdin. Everafter, ignoring the sequels.
Okay, what happened? Well, Jasmine and Aladdin stayed together because of their culture. If she tried to leave him, they'd fucking kill her. Aladdin probably married 2 or 3 other people. The genie went on. What did the genie do?
So the genie was freed, so he went away.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
and I know in the sequels he comes back. I would highly disagree with that. I think he's fucking gone. Like
He has everywhere in the world to go, and he stays in the Middle East.
yeah, because think about it. This guy's been around for like thousands of years. He's served probably dozens, if not hundreds, of masters. Like, you think he's gonna give a fuck about Aladdin? You freed me? Awesome. Thank you. I'm out. So the genie's gone.
I'm trying to think of a weird comparison with slavery in America. Like,
Jesus Christ.
they were, here you go, you're free. So are we cool?
No, you're okay. So imagine, being a slave and you're like sold and passed around.
Right,
And then one owner's like, you know what? I like you. I'm going to let you go. You're not going to be like,
Yeah,
you know what? I'm going to stick around. No, you're like, fuck, I'm done.
I'm just gonna stay here in Virginia. Fuck that. I'm going north. Like, but you're free
I'm
here.
out.
I don't give a shit.
Are you going to come back and visit? No.
No.
Now, if Aladdin freed him on wish 1,
Oh, there you go. Yeah.
maybe. But he
Yeah.
got his 2 wishes in. He got his slavery in.
Dick.
So, so Genie's gone and not coming back.
Got his wishes in.
Dude, no, your slavery comparison is 100% correct. Imagine if the guy came up on the slave through trade, whatever, and he tells the slave, hey, check it out. I'm going to let you go. I'm going to free you after 2 years. It's like, you still fucking used me.
Yeah.
So, no, you're not a friend.
No,
And Aladdin
it's,
was a dick to him anyway.
Yeah, it'd be like also too. It's like, okay, hey Genie, I got everything I want. Oh, one wish left. I don't know. Yeah, I guess you can go home early.
No, Genie's gone. Genie's gone. I think that marriage is failed from the start.
Yeah, but culture doesn't matter. They're together forever.
Well, so and that's what would be weird because like he's just a quote street rat. If the marriage fell apart,
shit.
I feel like he wouldn't be like the king or the whatever the fuck the sultan. Like she would be
he's not-
she would be the guy or the queen sultan.
Yeah, no, he's not the sultan at all. You're right. You're absolutely right. Yeah, maybe it did. Maybe like the minute like it suddenly clicked for her, and she went and hung out with her friends. So yeah, she went and hung out with her friends. Like she finally like got away, went to the spa or something with all her Jasmine friends. So Jasmine, Emerald, Topaz, all her
Diamond.
other friends, Diamond. Yeah, they're all like, he's a what? Yeah, but he's cute. He's a what?
Yeah, this is the equivalent is if you're like a woman CEO
Yeah.
and this guy who works at the gas station who has a criminal record just gives you some good dick, so you marry him. Like that, it's not like 2 months into that relationship, she's gonna be like, "Fuck this guy."
Hang on.
Because dude, okay, so even though we're ignoring the sequels, I do remember even when you watch the sequels, Aladdin is still wearing his fucking street garb.
Oh no.
Like, dude,
Yeah.
you don't, you can dress. Like,
I
dress
remember
up.
at the end of Aladdin 1, it was the one last shot where they ride off into the sunset on that haunted carpet, that Aladdin is wearing his street garb, but they're like different colored.
Yeah.
They're like striped and shit. So it's like the same thing, but like still like fucked up. And I'm like,
Fancy. Yeah. No, that I'm telling you that marriage is gonna last 2 or 3, maybe a couple years because she wants to stick it out before she's like, dude, you're a bum.
I don't even think they got married. That's the thing. I don't think they got married.
They didn't even reach that point.
They didn't even reach that point. They're like, no, yeah, you're together for sure. And then like a month later, she's like, hang on. This dude can't even pay for the invitations of the wedding of this shit. This is going to be rough.
And then you really think about like the extent he lied to her about shit.
Right? Just to get some Jasmine Poon.
Yeah, like look, for example, this is totally not true, but like if my girl was like, oh, by the way, the job I got when I moved to California, I actually never got. I just did all that and lied to you so that we could be together. I'd be like, you're a fucking psycho.
When I leave for work, I just sit in my car and talk to my imaginary genie and ride around on a rug.
Yeah, and if I'm like, well, babe, I met your work friends. Like, what are you talking about? And she's like, yeah, those are just people I met at the bar, and they said they'd help me out. I'd be like, you're a psycho. Like, I would think like you're out of your fucking mind. And so when she finds out that he had this genie and did all this shit, because what was the first wish was make me a prince. What was the second wish?
To save his life because he was thrown into the ocean.
That's right. It was when okay.
Yeah.
But
say again, selfish. Save me, genie.
Save me. Yeah. So that marriage is going to fall apart, and I think Abu will stay with her. I think the carpet will go with Aladdin, and then Abu will stay.
Jasmine gets the monkey. No, I think the magic carpet magic like wore off. Like it was like kind of because it can't be forever, right? Like I think like yeah, again like maybe it like started like running out of battery, you know.
I think it's a magic carpet. It'll last. Yeah.
Well, then there's his money source because holy shit, you know. Can you imagine that in like the market or whatever? Like, hey, come check this out. It's a fucking.
I can see Aladdin getting tossed out, and then he becomes a street performer with the carpet. 100%.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. Yeah.
I think that's how it ends.
The dad dies of diabetes like a year later.
Yes.
The Sultan. Yeah.
And I don't think she'll remarry or get married. I think she'll just become power bitch of Arabia.
I think like she like says, no, dad, you're wrong. I'm going with this guy, Aladdin. And then a month later, she comes crawling back and says, oh my God, dad. Oh my God, you were right. Holy shit. He's a bum. He's stealing bread. I told him I'd buy the bread, but he stole it. I'm sorry. And he's like, all right, well, if you come back, you know, there's going to be some changes.
Oh, wait, so you think that she leaves?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Oh, I thought they would stay.
Wait, who would stay?
Like Aladdin and her would stay in the palace because at the end of the movie, he gives approval.
Maybe, but I think the Sultan was like, yeah, but I was drunk when I said that. I don't want you in this fucking house. No. I mean, come on, dude.
So you think Jasmine's like, I want to marry for love, and she goes off and lives with Aladdin, realizes what she had, and comes back. Okay, the way I saw it.
And then like the week later, he sells her to another sultan or something like that.
The way I see it happening is that, because remember at the end, I think she even says like, he's like, oh, did you find it? Like you picked a suitor, and she's like, yeah, and she has Aladdin. And he's like, oh, okay, and he was happy about it. So I think they stay. Aladdin is still a fucking bum. He's a street dog that you brought in. You know what I'm saying? It's a stray dog you brought in and had hoped that it didn't know to piss on the carpet, or not to piss on the carpet. Sorry. And he pisses on the carpet, so to speak, metaphorically speaking. And so after, like, I think your timeline's right, maybe a month or two, she's just kind of like, you got to think about her position. She's been courted by all these different fucking princes, and all of them are douchebags, including Jafar. So she finally gets one who seems nice, wants to marry him, realizes that he's a dirtbag, so she kicks him out, and she's like, fuck it, I'm not going to get married. And she just becomes power bitch because the dad's going to die, like you said, of diabetes within a year or two. So she's just going to be the sole female sultan and just rock shit.
Yeah. Here's another option, though, that might have happened. Maybe Aladdin's like, you know, actually cool, but, you know, he doesn't have a job. He doesn't really do much. And so he moves in with them into the palace. They get married. Sultan dies, diabetes, a couple months later. What happens? Well, I go back to the roots. Aladdin seemed to be a pretty able-bodied, sharp, good-looking individual. For him not to be able to find a job, because he seemed to put the work in. And he's like, for him not to find a job and be a street rat screams addiction problems and substance abuse. So I think, like, what about this? If they got married, moved into the palace, that dude drank himself to death in 2 years max. Like, he just either, like, he hit the opium or the bottle and just dead because no restraints.
You know what? You just hit on something I'd never thought of, and it's so... I'm not sure to repeat what you said, but it's so clear. You're right. This guy is able-bodied. He's clearly capable. This dude's like jumping over fucking walls, down buildings. Why doesn't this motherfucker have a job?
He has the slick tongue to be a con man. Why is he stealing bread? This dude is like quick, sharp, and he's like jumping over shit.
Yeah, that's
and
what I'm
like
saying.
he has a smooth tongue. Like the biggest bullshit in that whole movie was when he dropped into the whorehouse and he's like, "What's up?" And they're like, "Ew, no, bitch, he's hot." And somehow this guy, he's that desperate that he's stealing bread. The only people I've seen with that kind of form are crackheads.
No, that's what I'm saying. It's so in the open. Yeah. Why doesn't he could have joined the army?
High functioning alcoholism.
Yeah, he can't hold down a job because he has a fucking issue.
Right.
I never thought about
marries a fucking queen, moves into a palace with its own bar. Good lord. What does he have to do? He has to tell other people what to do? Holy shit.
I'm still stuck on this whole thing of like why doesn't this guy have a job? He pays no rent. No, you just I never thought about that. Like, why doesn't this motherfucker have a job?
Not even a job, because he doesn't even need a boss. He can have a craft or something he's doing to make money.
But that's my point. So he doesn't have rent because he lives in that fucking attic or whatever it is.
Right.
So he doesn't pay rent. He's able-bodied.
He's talking to glowing people and talks to monkeys and rides around on rugs and shit. The dude's high as fuck.
No, in my head I'm like, oh, like, yeah, he has an issue. There's no reason this guy should not have a job. No, you can't hold it down. You're right, 100%. So
usually,
I'm repeating what you said. He's charming. He's very nice.
Yeah.
He got the broad. You're right.
All the aspects of an addictive personality. The people that can talk themselves into getting what they need to get.
He's a chronic liar.
Chronic. Yeah, man.
Yeah. No, you just hit on the head. I think you win.
What do you think? I Can Show You the World wasn't about a crack pipe? Come on.
Holy shit. We're breaking it open, Mitch.
I'm breaking down all the walls, man.
Dude, he's a fucking crackhead.
He's got it. He definitely is. I mean,
you are 100% right that he would go through all that shit to get in the palace, and then he's going to drink himself or do drugs or whatever.
Usually when people of poverty, whatever the housing challenged, whatever the politically correct term is, whenever homeless people are depicted in film, they usually spend a good amount of time explaining how they got there and how it's not their fault. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I was injured at work and they had me on pain pills and then they cut me off, but I was addicted and heroin was the only option. That's why I'm a homeless addicted to heroin. You know, this is a whole sob story or whatever. Aladdin, they're just he's homeless.
Yeah, we're just gonna skip over that.
This dude was way too sharp to be homeless because it wasn't his fault. He is choosing this.
Yeah, it's just one of those things like you don't really think about, and then now when you said it, I was like, oh my god.
Yeah, I just was kind of thinking of it as we were sitting here because I don't think about Aladdin that often. But.
Yeah, of course, the crackhead would be the one that finds the genie and has all this shit.
The diamond in the rough, man.
Diamond is a rock of some sort.
Yeah.
No, I think you hit it on the head. He's going to get in there. She's going to be charmed by him. He's going to hold out just enough until they get married so they're locked in.
Yeah. He's going to hold out until daddy dies. You know, he's going to keep he's going to put on the facade, meanwhile hiding bottles and, yeah. Daddy's gonna die, and then he's just gonna let the guard down. He's like, well, I'm in for life now. I'm good. And then
Locked in.
and then he's gonna get like what is it, cirrhosis or something? And
Or something worse.
Psoriasis?
No.
What is it? What is the liver disease or whatever?
I think it's cirrhosis. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what.
Wow, Aladdin's a crackhead. We've uncovered a lot today.
I think we have an episode title.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking right now. I was like, Aladdin's a crackhead.
Aladdin's a crackhead.
That should grab some eyes.
Everyone should wonder, why is Aladdin not have a job? Why is he homeless? Why is he stealing bread? Yeah.
Yeah. He is fully capable of having a job.
He sweet talked himself into the palace, but bread is the only thing he could steal? Like, you can't talk yourself into a good meal here and there? Like, I mean, come on. Yeah. Yeah. Not only is he, a crackhead, he's probably well-known crackhead. Everyone probably knows. Yeah, Aladdin, dude.
They're singing about him, right? They're like, oh, it's that fucking guy.
Oh, it's Aladdin, man. He is a very high-functioning, very, very high-functioning.
All the hookers in that the whorehouse, all of them are like, oh, it's fucking Aladdin. He's broke. Get his bitch ass out of here.
He's gonna steal his shit and use it to buy booze and come back and try to apologize.
He doesn't pay girls. He doesn't pay girls. Don't go him.
He'll steal your shit and come back and help you look for it.
Yeah. Oh man, yeah. I don't even know what to say.
Happily ever after. I'm trying to think any other character. Was Jafar as a genie?
That's what number 2 was about. Is that he comes back.
Okay, yeah. I think I kind of remember that. And shocker, he was a dick. But
yeah. Jafar, I don't know. I'm already done. The topic's over. with Aladdin being a crackhead.
We're just beating a horse at this.
So that's the episode, everybody.
Yeah.
No, I think that's a good place to end it. Aladdin's a crackhead.
Nothing else to say on that, man.
No,
I'm
we're
happy
good.
with it.
We can go ahead and clock out.
Really?
Yeah. No, I'm good. That's.
I love it. That's why the genie took off too. He's like, I know the signs.
The genie knows. Do you remember? The genie knows. No, remember when something happened? He got pissed off, and he was like, "Fuck! Like I have to do this, I have to do that." And the genie's like, "You still gonna let me free, right?" And he's like, "I don't know, man. I might have to use those 3 wishes. I don't know, man. I don't know." And
turns it around.
Yeah, he's a fucking crackhead. He started gaslighting the genie. Like, no.
He gaslighted the genie. He started gaslighting the genie.
He's like, making this about you, huh? I'm having some real problems here, genie.
Robin Williams is voicing it like, hang on. This is real. This is true.
That's why the genie dipped so fast.
Yeah, exactly. He's like, nope, know the signs, goodbye.
That's why Aladdin wanted him gone.
That's why he didn't care.
That's why Aladdin's like, yeah, go. Because you're not going to like what's about to happen.
You're not an enabler. I don't need you. Goodbye. Oh, man. Like, I mean, the genie's probably seen tons of crackheads because what? It's able-bodied normal people that are out in the middle of the desert digging for shit and then they find a lamp. No, they're all crackheads, man. Everyone who's ever found a genie is a crackhead, and that's a fact. Quote me on that.
No, I'm going to quote you.
All right. Thanks for listening, everybody. I like these. I like these. I'm always kind of like, oh, let's warm up to it. Okay, how about this? Okay, how about this? It's. I think my problem next time we do an Everafter, don't tell me what it is because like I'll start thinking about it. And
I didn't know what it was. We just picked it.
I'll get over prepared, but yeah, no, this is good. Sweet.
All right. Anyway, thanks for listening, everybody. See you next time.
See you next week.